Hello, I'm Jenefer, the founder of Silk Helix, and in this video I'm talking about how you deal with it when an employee tells you that she's pregnant. So firstly, don't panic and congratulate her. I know if you're a small employer it can be really challenging because you're about to lose somebody for a long period of time. And this person could be one of your best employees. They could be the person you really don't want to be losing for 52 weeks. But congratulate her, make this time as easy as possible, and you're much more likely to have her returning after that maternity leave period. So what do you need to think about and what's she entitled to? So once she's come and told you that she's pregnant, the first thing you need to do is make sure you've got your risk assessments. You don't necessarily have to do an individual risk assessment just for her, but you do need to make sure that you've got risk assessments in place for the business, for anybody that gets pregnant within the business. So if you haven't got that, do that now. Then you need to be aware of what her rights and entitlements are. So while she's pregnant, she's entitled to paid time off for any antenatal care that's recommended by a medical professional or a healthcare professional. So for example, her midwife or her GP. There will be regular appointments that she needs to go to, both midwife appointments and scans. And different pregnancies have different appointment requirements depending on how high risk the pregnancy is and things around the lady's health background. You can see evidence of those appointments if you wish, except for the first one. A key thing to be aware of is that anybody who is pregnant or on maternity leave is protected from discrimination. So you cannot discriminate against her because she's pregnant. I think most of us know that you can't sack somebody just for being pregnant. Unfortunately, it does still happen, and sometimes it's kind of washed into something else to make it look like you didn't really do it because she was pregnant. But be really aware that you can't dismiss just because somebody is pregnant, and you need to make sure as well that you're considering things like reasonable adjustments and the language that you use in discussing the pregnancy with her as well, to make sure that that's not discriminatory, and particularly that it's not judgmental at all. So your pregnant lady is going to be entitled to maternity leave. That maternity leave is up to 52 weeks, and it's made up of 26 weeks of ordinary maternity leave and 26 weeks of additional maternity leave. The reality is these days there's not much difference between the two of them. There's a slight difference in terms of the job she's entitled to return to. So if she returns to work at the end of the first 26 weeks ordinary leave, she's entitled to return to the exact job and same terms and conditions. Whereas after 52 weeks, she's entitled to something similar. But reality is that most people return to the exact same job. That similar is, the definition of it is actually quite narrow. It's also worth noting that within that you've got compulsory maternity leave, which for most people is the first 2 weeks following giving birth. For anybody that works in a factory, it's 4 weeks following giving birth, so you cannot return to work during that time. Aside from that, your lady can opt to return to work at any time. She has to give 8 weeks notice to change her return to work date, actually the same to change her start date as well. So in terms of return to work, you would automatically assume that she's going to take all 52 weeks off. But she can opt to reduce that and to inform you that she's going to reduce that and come back to work sooner, which is why we've got compulsory maternity leave there. She cannot return to work during that time. But taking a step back, before she goes on maternity leave, so she's got to formally notify you that she's planning to take maternity leave. And this is done around about the time that she gets her MAP B1 form, which is 15 weeks prior to the due date. She should get issued a MAP B1 form at that point. She'll have a midwife appointment around there, which she'll get issued that. And at that point, she should put into writing to you that she is pregnant and that she plans to take her maternity leave and the date in which she plans to take that from. And as I say, she can then give 8 weeks notice if she wants to change that. If she gives birth in between that time or prior to her maternity leave starting, the maternity leave will start automatically. And if she's ill with a pregnancy-related sickness in the 4 weeks prior to maternity leave starting, again, you can start her maternity leave automatically at that point as well. The rules around maternity leave are really complex. I've got a full article that goes into more detail. I've put the link in the description below. Also put our contact details in the description below. So if you want to chat to me and find out a little bit more about maternity leave and what your pregnant ladies are entitled to, then just book a call using the link below, and I'm happy to discuss with any business exactly what people are entitled to. The normal terms and conditions of the contract do remain in place during maternity leave. This is with the exception of pay, which reverts to statutory maternity pay, or if you've got an occupational maternity pay in place, then that would apply as well. But that includes holiday. So holidays accrued during maternity leave. And that includes your bank holidays as well, so don't forget those. We do recommend that when somebody goes on maternity leave, they take the holiday that they've accrued and they're entitled to for the current year prior to starting their maternity leave. This means they've got a little bit less holiday when they come back. When they then come back to work at the end of their maternity leave, they'll have all the holiday they've accrued for that holiday year as well. And it depends where the holiday year falls in relation to their maternity leave as to how much leave they'll actually have to take. Some people block this on the end of their maternity leave. Some people like to spread it out so they kind of ease their return to work and do a bit of part-time working with holiday. If they're returning to work early in the holiday year, then they may well not attach holiday to their maternity leave and just take it as normal throughout the year. This is something you need to agree with her. It's worth chatting to her during her pregnancy. When she's thinking about maternity leave, make sure she's aware of her entitlements. Make sure she's aware that she can take holiday and that she needs to book it in. This will encourage her to think about how she wants to take her holiday around maternity leave. And then you've got the information with which to plan how you're going to manage that in addition to her maternity leave. During maternity leave, you've got keeping in touch days. So she can come to work or do some work from home for up to 10 days during her maternity leave period. Now these are entirely optional for both sides. So she could ask for keeping in touch days and you can either agree or decline. You could offer keeping in touch days and she can either agree or decline. Now this could be because you've got a key project, so it'd be good to bring her in on. It could be because you're short-staffed and we could do with a little bit of help. It could be to ease her back to work towards the end of her maternity leave. It could be to attend a staff training, for example, or a key meeting. These are various options. Keeping in touch days can be used how you want, and so they're optional on both sides. You aren't required in any way to specifically pay. There's not something written into legislation about payment for keeping in touch days. The reality is she's unlikely to want to come to work unless you're going to pay her to do that. So usually you would top up maternity leave for that particular day to full pay. But say the legislation doesn't specifically require that, so it's something to negotiate with her. But as I say, the expectation would normally be that you would pay for that, just to entice her to come in and support her coming in if she is. Anything that's part of a day, so let's say she comes in for an hour's meeting, then that's going to count as a full day for the purposes of keeping in touch. And these are the days that you can take without bringing maternity leave to an end. If you work any more than these, it will automatically bring maternity leave to an end and entitlement to maternity pay. That said, there is the option to cut short maternity leave and to move on to shared parental leave. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of shared parental leave in this video because that's a whole nother topic. But ultimately, it's where she can share her entitlement to time with her partner, the baby's father. So she can return to work. The father or her partner can take time off of work. Either they can take time off together at the same time, but shorten the period, or alternative times. All sorts of things they can do. But one of the crucial things with shared parental leave is it also gives up to 20 keeping in touch days. So even if she didn't want to share maternity leave but actually wanted the additional keeping in touch days, then that would also be an option that's available to her to cut short her maternity leave, move on to shared parental leave and take the additional keeping in touch days. So there's a lot of flexibility around in terms of what she can do around her entitlements. So to say, it is a really complex area, and this is a really short video considering the complexities of maternity leave. So I'm really just giving the highlights in this video just so that you and your employees can be aware of what they're entitled to. But as I say, there's a link in the description below for our full article and to access a free trial advice call. If you want to have a chat with me, find out more about entitlements, I'm more than happy to have a chat with any business that wants to discuss the entitlements of their employees. And one problem that businesses often face when it comes to maternity leave is suddenly realising that this person's been off for a number of months, they haven't spoken to them, they don't really know if this person's returning or when they're returning. And this can be a huge challenge. I would recommend overcoming this by thinking about how you're going to keep in contact with them prior to them going on maternity leave. So when they tell you formally that they're pregnant and they're going on maternity leave, don't forget this is the 15 weeks before their due date, so around the 25 weeks of pregnancy. You have to reply within 28 days to confirm receipt and to confirm their maternity leave. As part of that, I would do 2 extra things. One is I would discuss with them their entitlement to holidays if you've not already done so that they can make plans around that and you're not suddenly both shocked by a massive holiday that's suddenly got to be taken. But you also discuss her return to work. Now, as I say, the assumption is that she's going to take 52 weeks leave. So I would discuss with her the requirement to give 8 weeks notice if she wants to come back earlier. Say to her that you'll assume, if not, that she'll be returning on this date that is after 52 weeks and that you'll prepare for her to return on that date. But I would also ask her how she wants you to keep in touch so that you can plan for that return. You can make sure she's aware of things that have changed. So if colleagues have changed or work environments changed, so you can discuss that with her. Now, there's certain things you have to. So if there's going to be a restructure, for example, you would have to engage her in that consultation. But there's other things that she may or may not want to hear about while she's on maternity leave. So have that discussion before she goes so that you can have an open conversation with regards to her return to work. You're not feeling like you're pressuring her. She's not feeling harassed because she's being contacted when she doesn't want to be. And of course, it's great to say congratulations, potentially even invite her into the workplace with new baby. This is a really good way of just keeping her in touch, keeping her part of the workplace. 52 weeks off work is a long time. It can be really challenging to come back into work. I know from my own experiences of walking back into work after 52 weeks, I felt like I couldn't remember what I was doing. I felt like the new girl all over again. So we can do a lot to support women back into work. A kind of mini induction that really reintegrates them back in and allows them to get back up to speed when they come back from that period of leave. I hope that you found this video useful. If you have, hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications bell so you don't miss a single video. I release videos every week giving hints, tips on all things HR and people management.